G'day guys, it's Ben and Ads here at Pumped on Property. In today's video we're going to actually talk about how much a mortgage broker makes. So some brokers charge you a little bit of money up front, but most of them actually do their job for free. So we're going to talk about not just the fact that they do an amazing service for nothing most of the time, but how they get remunerated from the banks in terms of an upfront fee as well as a recurring trailing commission. At the end of the video we're going to talk about what makes a great broker and how you can actually find one for yourself. So I'll kick it over to Ads here, because before starting at Pumped on Property as a buyer's agent, he was working with Mortgage Choice as a mortgage broker over there and has got amazing experiences from that. So let's kick it off with this concept of brokers actually being free.
Hey guys. So yeah, like Ben said, there's a couple of different ways that brokers might operate initially, or from your point of view. Now, it could be free, and a large proportion of them actually do offer the service for free. Now, they do still get remunerated for the work they do. They don't do that out of the goodness of their hearts. It is the financial industry, let's be honest.
What's wrong with these guys? Why aren't they doing it for nothing?
But it's not the only way that they do get paid. So like, some will charge you a fee just to basically get you committed to using their services. So it's not necessarily that they're charging you because they don't get paid enough from the banks. It's more so to make sure that you're not wasting their time, because they do value their time. You'd be surprised how much time mortgage brokers do spend doing their job. Some people have this idea that they're quite lazy and they get to spend time at home, or they're just relaxing all the time, just waiting for your phone call. But no, they're generally quite high performing and work long hours to try and get the remuneration that they do, and to try and get the client base built up that they really pride themselves on. So I guess one important thing to throw in there is value your mortgage broker's time. Even though it's not costing you money, it's a bit harder to value them the same way, but just trust that they're doing the best thing for you, because even though they get paid by a bank or remunerated by a bank and not yourself, they're still working on your behalf. So to bring it back round, brokers, you should be able to find a broker that's free or that will reimburse you any fees that you do pay them up front, and that's more of just to secure your services. So how do they get paid, I guess, is the next step that we really want to jump into there, and where does that payment come from? So that'll be done by lenders and referral partners in different ways. So a broker will also touch on insurances and other parts that are important for your financial situation at the moment. So just they'll get remunerated from these different sources, but the key one is it's the banks or the lender that they choose to go with. Now,
these brokers get a huge upfront fee, like a big chunk up front for all of that work, because as Ad said, there's a huge amount of stuff that happens behind the scenes that I didn't even know happened until you were working out at our office, and I was like, whoa, you know, this is a huge workload for each client. So they do get that chunk up front, which can sometimes be a percentage for different lenders. It can sometimes be a set fee, and then they get this trailing commission part, which is basically for the life of the loan that you have with that bank that was written by that broker. They get a much smaller amount every year, and so, you know, they're constantly looking to write new business so that it, as a business model, works into a, you know, higher and higher recurring income from all of these different loans that they've got.
Yeah, of course. And so it's touching on, like you've talked about two different, there's the upfront and then there's the trailing commission. So that's how they get remunerated from a bank. It's more percentage than a set cost. Like, that's a lot more common for it to be. There's a bit of talk at the moment in the marketplace about perhaps pushing it towards a set fee per loan, because they're a little bit worried about incentivizing brokers to try and do larger volumes or larger loan sizes and push people into situations that they might not feel comfortable in. But from the inside, I don't think that was something that was occurring. It's brokers generally worked in your best interest, and if they pushed you to a higher amount, it's generally just to give you more breathing room. Like, you make that last decision. Just because you're pre-approved up to 600,000 doesn't mean you need to go, oh, I'm spending 600,000 now. Like, 100%. You still make a conscious choice, and your broker can give you some information about how much those repayments are going to be and where you feel comfortable, and that's what can decide, even though you might go for a higher pre-approval originally.
What types of percentages are we talking about for the upfront payment and the recurring that they can expect, like, you know, from the banks on average? What does that look like?
It does vary greatly depending on the aggregator or the company of the mortgage broker that you do use. So certain companies will have a set fee across the board. So the lender will pay, say Mortgage Choice we'll use as an example, as obviously I have a bit more inside information there. They will pay Mortgage Choice different amounts. That can range from 0.5% up to a bit over 1% on the loan amount that you're getting or that you're borrowing, and that's from the settled loan amount. So
let's say you're getting a $400,000 loan. Then if you're saying 0.5%, we're talking $2,000. If we're talking 1%, the broker's upfront making about $1,000, which is pretty reasonable for the amount of work that they put in, I think. Which, you've got to remember that they start a conversation here, you've still got to go out and find the property and go through settlement, so it is a long-term relationship as well. And what about in terms of the recurring percentages? How do they fluctuate?
Well, I just wanted to touch on one more thing with Mortgage Choice, for example. Even though Mortgage Choice gets paid that range of commissions or percentages from different lenders, they pay the broker the same amount regardless of the lender. So Mortgage Choice takes the difference and uses that in their sort of operational cost as a business overarching, but the broker or the franchise specifically, they get paid the same no matter which lender they choose to put you with. So it takes away that incentive for a broker to go, I'm going to put you with lender B every single time because they're paying me 1% compared to lender A paying only 0.5%. So
that's really powerful, bro, because I think that's what this whole Royal Banking Inquiry is right now. It's about people getting undisclosed or much higher commissions, and then therefore dodging up applications and writing them through one lender as opposed to doing the right thing for the client. So it's super great to hear that such a big company has already been thoughtful of that, to disincentivize doing the wrong thing for the client and making sure it works for everyone.
Yeah, 100% agree. To jump back onto your other question regarding the trailing commissions amount, now that ranges up to about 0.2% per year. That's on the very high end, and it's not too many that do actually offer that large of amount. It's generally more, I would say, about a 0.1% that they would see, and like I was talking, depending on the aggregator or the company that you choose to go with, the actual broker or the franchise will get paid significantly less than that depending on their terms. So it sounds like it could be a lot of money for not doing much over a year, but it does trickle down, and it is part of an operational cost of any business. So yeah, like just talking about an example, if we're saying that same $400,000 amount, that's going to be, what are we looking at, $400 per year,
which isn't a huge amount of money for the broker. And my broker does a hell of a lot more than he should for $400 a year for me. In all those years when I haven't been able to lend money, I've still been very active. We still do annual reviews together, we still talk about things and about the future together. So I think if it's the right partner, it's absolutely worthwhile investing that time, finding that guy that, yes, they are making money, that's part of the world that we're in, but they should also be supporting you to achieve your dreams through property investment, enable you to take those steps that are important to you as well.
Yeah, definitely. And so we've talked a little bit on how they're remunerated, and it's also not quite that clear cut as well. There is something called clawback in the mortgage broking or finance industry. So if they happen to write a loan for you today, and then you decide that in 6 months time you're no longer happy with that product and you want to go with a different lender, they'll actually experience a clawback. Now, depending on where that is from the day that your loan started to 2 years time, that could be 50%, it could be 100%, but there is potential that a broker could do all that work for you, and then something change in the market or your circumstances change, you have to move away from that loan or sell the property. They get a full clawback and they don't get paid for all that work they did for you. So I guess I just want to put in there, value your broker's time, because they're not going to want to look after you if you continuously take away their clawback. And I've spoken to customers before saying, but I've done this for them, I've done that for them, I've given them 8 loans. And when I actually went through the nitty-gritty of what they actually did for that broker, they did 8 loans for that broker, or that broker did 8 loans for them and only got paid for 3 of them. But they think they've given them all of this business. Whereas really, it's just more than 100% doubled the workload of that broker to perform that service. Now, I'm not trying to say be on the broker's side and think about their back pocket, but just be wary that when they're giving you advice, it is the trying to find the best win-win situation for yourself and for them as well, to create a positive relationship. And I just want to touch on a little bit, if you don't mind, the benefits of having that relationship with a broker.
Yeah, I just, before we jump into that, want to come back to that, because I'm somebody that has a 2-part property investment strategy personally. One part, as you know, is buying and holding really high quality stuff long term with great capital growth, great cash flow. The second part, because my wife's an interior designer and project manager, is buying and selling in a short period of time, whether that's land and building or whether that is buying an older house and renovating it. And a short period of time could mean a year, a short period of time in some instances for us has meant 3 months. So that's always been tricky for my relationship with my broker personally, in the sense that, you know, there's kind of one for him, one for me, if you know what I mean. And we've kind of come to an understanding there where I'm very, very honest up front about my intentions for what I plan on doing. And, you know, he's a great guy that supports me through that stuff, and he knows that, you know, we've written quite a few loans together now, one way or the other. It's still worked out in his benefit, and obviously I introduce some of our clients to him as well, because I think he's absolutely world class, the guy I work with at Mortgage Choice. But, you know, it's just about finding that balance, being as honest as possible with it. Some brokers are really going to get upset about that. Other people that see the bigger picture of you being a client that they can work with for the next 30 years is, you know, a bit of give and take as well. So make sure you do what's right for you, but also consider that you're working with a person that has a family that cares about you and cares about themselves as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, like you really want to, or like you hinted at, you really want to be transparent about your goals for the future. And that's not just telling them that, look, I'm going to flip this property, or look, I'm not going to hold this one for the next 2 years, or whatever it is. It's also telling them the positive things that you're going to be doing for them. So if that means that you're planning to purchase 5 properties over the next 4 years, plus maybe move twice in your own owner-occupier, that is a lot of potential revenue for that broker. So even though I'm saying that they can get a clawback, don't focus on that too negatively. Just be transparent about everything, and the broker will help you and they will see benefit to it.
What I've found is someone who has gone from being a completely self-obsessed little shit of an investor that was just working every single person that I could, and that is the reality of how I started out. And that's the reality of how, unfortunately, a lot of investors do start out. They're just so personally focused. But the way to build a great team long term of people that care about you, that have your best interest at heart, that will tell you that you're making a mistake, which is very, very important, or tell you to slow down or tell you to speed up. And you can take that with a grain of salt, is about being open, about being honest, and about caring from where they're coming from. So, you know, I think I did 5 or 6 loans before I met my current broker, Aaron. Since then, I think I've done another 6 odd loans with him. Again, some of them we've sold quickly, some of them we've held, but it's been an amazing experience because 1, he gets me, he understands where I'm going. 2, the guy owns like 25 investment properties outright himself, so he's already been there and done it. And 3, you know, we're both people that are trying to get a better result for our lives in the future. So, you know, whether you're starting out or you're well down the line, just remember that every person in your team is a person. They all go home to the same home as you every night. They're all motivated by exactly the same thing, and working people is only going to work in your favor for a period of time. Then you're just going to look at, like I did, a trail of destruction behind you without being much further forward. So be aware of that when you're beginning your journey too.
Yeah, definitely. So just to, I guess, somewhat wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
We've talked about how a broker will get remunerated for their services for you, and we've talked about a couple of things about being transparent with that broker and how it can make that process a lot easier. I guess why we think a broker is vital, and I talked a little bit about how banks will potentially pay a branch manager or a loan consultant instead of a broker. If you use a broker, this is one of the main benefits I see, and it's that they will be there throughout the whole journey. So you said like Aaron came in halfway through for you, but imagine if he was there the whole time.
Oh, man.
You didn't have to have those conversations with new branch managers each time, new banks, because let's be honest, over the time that you've been investing,
painful,
you would have switched banks to get the better rates or switched around to find what is best, and you have to then create a new relationship, get them to be on your side. You have to find some trust, and if you don't trust every single person you meet, you then got to maybe test a couple, and then we're bringing up issues with potential credit reports and marks on your credit history because you've done checks you might not want to have had. So there is benefits from using a mortgage broker, and one of the main ones being is that long-term relationship and knowing that they're invested in your well-being, your outcome, you getting a positive I guess result from the whole experience.
And I think the number one thing that most investors fail to do before they start taking action with a loan is take a step back and do nothing and go, where am I right now? Where would I like to be in the future, 12 months, 15 years from today? what's actually holding me back financially from a broking perspective as well as personally. Like, what are the actual challenges that I have to overcome to do this? Is it lack of social support, lack of a team of advisors, no mentor or coach, information overload or lack of market knowledge, or the fact that you've got to look at a market that you don't feel comfortable with because it's not where you grew up? And you know, once you've done that, then it's about identifying the right market at the right time with the right investment strategy in terms of your property investment goals. So I know I've just sort of said a whole lot of things, but it's really simple. It's really peeling it back and going, where am I and where do I want to be? And getting real about that first before you rush into the market, because as I've learned from wasting my time buying so many more properties than I needed to, if I had have had the clear strategy that I have now, I probably could have bought 2 or 3 great ones, been in as good or a better financial position than I am now without all of the running around for the last 10 years that I've done. So if that sounds like you, I'd love the opportunity to offer you a one-on-one strategy session over at our business, which is www.pumpedonproperty.com. We have bought over $250 million worth of property for our clients now, and I'd love to share some of that market knowledge that we've learned in that session, which will either be with myself or my brother Simon, and we'll just get real about where you are and where you'd like to be, give you completely unbiased advice around that, and you can take that with a grain of salt, or if you'd like to continue the conversation about working with us, we could talk about that as well. But I really appreciate you wrapping it up today, bro.
Thanks, man.
For once. And Tate's wrapping it up. And also just, you know, having this insight in our business now around how the finance industry, how the broking industry works, man, it's super refreshing. I'm super excited and really appreciate everybody's time and attention today. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've also got a property podcast now, which we've just launched, called the Pumped On Property Show, which is available on iTunes. So get stuck in, keep learning, and keep, you know, moving towards where you and your family want to be long term. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers.